What's going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the No Matter What podcast. My name is Sina.
I'm Rafa.
I'm Yo Steve.
What up, yo?
How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Great.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm
Great.
glad we could get you on the podcast.
Yeah.
Traffic
It's
wasn't
good to
bad?
be here.
Yeah, definitely. Traffic
Good to
wasn't
be
bad?
here. Traffic is terrible. Terrible coming over here.
Look, you're about to, go down the street after this, so it's a
Yeah.
win-win.
Definitely a
Win-win
win-win.
situation. Sure.
Yes, that's why we arranged it to where it could be like this.
Right. Great.
You know?
Great.
So,
Where you-
let- go
Where you
ahead.
want me to start?
Well, I mean, I would say start from the beginning, but that
Well, that's going back many years, having 39 years clean
Right.
and being in recovery and seeing how things are different now than they were when I first got clean it's amazing. I think it's basically the principles that I've experienced over the years and some of the mistakes I made over the years being in recovery. The game plan has been that I have not used in all that period of time.
So let's start there. Let's start from how it was then to how it is now.
Okay. Well, in the beginning of the recovery or the
Beginning when you came. What year did you walk into the rooms?
1986. It
Okay.
was in 1986 when I walked into the rooms. And the difference is that it was a much smaller fellowship and it was different than back then. It was a lot more close knitted. It was people that you could identify with, where it is today that you see that drug use is not the same as it was back then. In my experiences is that I've learned so much over the years is that I've gotten to the place where hasn't been about the drugs. It's been about the behavior. It's been about my attitude. It's been about the change in life. It's been about the letdowns and the emotional upheaval and the trauma and the drama that goes on in recovery versus the trauma and drama that went on in real life. Having a life that as you guys probably know, and I tell this all the time, is that I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I grew up in an area that was poverty stricken. It was that party was the number one word around, and not to deal with the finances or the romances or the feelings or where whoopings were okay and where talking bad to another person was okay, getting into a fight was okay, to where it is today is like assault and battery, is pulling guns, is fentanyl, is there's so many different things that are based on the social media that we have today versus there wasn't any social media back then. It was word of mouth and
Payphones.
payphones,
A pigeon.
a pigeon, homing pigeon or whatever. Yeah, for sure. But as I think back, man, I guess I'm just grateful for being able to be alive this long and being able to talk about my life and to be able to watch people make the change that are around me. I love recovering people. I love people that take an opportunity to try to change their life versus to what they had back back in the day. It's like we had a lot of dependence on each other where there's not a lot of dependence on each other. You watch the children of today, it's like the children don't play outside or
Mm-mm.
play kickball or play softball or just hang out with their friends outside. They're mostly inside and they depend on
Electronics.
electronics and technology to be able to get through, and that's where their fun comes from. Uh, so there's a lot of change. I think about it all the time. I think about in the '60s and the '50s, and then the change of the world started happening in the '70s and in the '80s, and the thing was always about a hustle. It was always about a hustle. It was always about let me get mine before you get yours,
Mhm.
and the jealousies and the enviness that came along with that, and then trying to fit in. It was like I was an adopted kid. I was a kid that felt that he didn't have a mom or didn't have a dad and didn't have a family and never felt like I fit in anywhere. The color of my skin was important to people because that was during the time of made the turn of the century of the time when they started having civil rights and there was a lot of riots. I was in the first Watts riots. I was in Detroit in that riot. I was in the Newark, New Jersey in that riot and
South
everything.
Central riots.
Yeah, well, the South Central was the Watts riots.
But there was two. There was the Watts riots
And then
back
there was the
in the
Rodney
day,
King.
and then the Rodney King. That's the one I'm talking
So
about.
basically, he creates riots.
Yeah,
Well, the Watts riots was kind of weird, man, because the basis of it is I was like 17, 18 years old when that happened, and we were smoking weed and dropping Red Devils and, and drinking cheap wine, and it was always about listening to music and getting loaded, you know what I mean, and about the party. Like I said, the party kept you from wanting to be able to get involved into the politics that was going on in the world. And so the black man was talking about, oh, it's because we black and we don't get this and we don't get that. And the white man said we were afraid of you. And then the Hispanic was saying he'd stay out of East LA, and they was bringing the drugs in from the borderlines and everything. And my personal life, man, is that I involved myself in all kind of arenas, based on the fact that I was separate from uh, belonging to any kind of group or gang or whatever have you. It was always about who got the best drugs and who. Like I shot my first drugs at 9 years old.
All right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Shot some heroin, and the only reason I shot some heroin is because I was hustling out of a shooting gallery. Where I would go around all these old guys and everything, sitting on these pillows and everything, and they'd be in suit and ties and business attire and stuff like that. And they would tell me just before, go get me a soda or go get me a candy bar, or go get me some ice cream or whatever. And that's what I was a runner. But every time they would shoot up dope, man, they'd look at me and say, man, don't never do this. Well, quite naturally, when someone tell you don't do this,
You're
you're
gonna
going to want to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so that was the lead to, but my real adventure in getting high started when I went to Vietnam. When I went to Vietnam, the drugs that I used was no, you can't even compare them to the drugs that we were getting in Southeast Asia. The drugs in Southeast Asia was a little bit more heavier than the drugs here, like the China White,
More potent.
more potent, as you would say.
Less
I recall-
cut, less
cleaner.
cut. Yeah.
Less cut on them and everything. They didn't have no cut in Vietnam.
Yeah,
You
I
know
bet
what I mean?
so.
So you get a pack of cigarettes. If you smoke Newports, you get a pack of cigarettes that were all joints, with filters on them that were Newport filters, in a pack that was sealed. You know what I mean? It was like you uh people would come from the US and come over there and bring some weed with them or whatever have you, and they would say, that shit ain't no good here because you had pouches of it. Everybody had a pipe, uh, 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 tobacco pipe, that they just dip in and
Those
smoke
old
from
school
there.
ones.
Old school stuff like that. And you go to the Papa San would have a opium den that you would go to, and in the opium den there were hoses like from a water faucet or something. Papa San for 50 cents, which was 50p, which 50 cents he'll turn on the thing from a faucet, and you just sit there and puff for about 5 to 10 minutes, and you was out of it for a while.
God
You
damn.
know, I was in opium dens, and so that was a whole nother type of era. Then when you found China White, it wasn't like you have to do a half a gram or a quarter gram or whatever have you. It was just like a pinch
Mm-hmm.
of dope. You know what I mean? And you get ossified, and because there was a war going on, and because people were getting killed all around you and everything, something I never really even talk about is seeing some of the adventures that I've been on and everything sound like a movie, but the reality was a reality. It was hard to believe and everything of what you might have seen where children were blowing up and mothers were dying and people were being shot in at point blank and everything. And you know, and you was a part of that.
And there goes that's why people go and get high because
Trauma.
they didn't want yeah,
They
they
don't
don't
wanna
wanna
deal
deal
with
with
the
it.
thoughts and the
Yeah.
feelings, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Makes sense.
And, like, coming back to the US, when they come back, I wanted to be a dope dealer. I wanted to be I wanted to be, you know, a hustler. I wanted to be a player. I wanted to be anything but a working person.
But
I
yeah.
didn't want nobody to know that I served America in the service, you know what I mean? And and based on my experiences and everything that I was in the streets with, it was it was you know, I started seeing all the craziness that went on in the streets where the competition of dope dealers was insane, you know what I mean? The competition of carrying a pistol or shooting somebody or shooting off. I used to take acid and just take my pistol and just shoot off into in a house or on the street somewhere or whatever have you. So all that insanity that went on then to fast forward to where I'm in recovery now, when I found recovery, I was at the end of the road. I didn't know what else to do in life. I was in that experience of you know, I have never heard of any 12-step programs or any recovery processes or treatment centers or whatever have you. And I tell the story a lot about how at the end of the road, you know, I ended up on Skid Row for 9 months and with just the clothes on my back, you know, and you know, it's a long story to tell everything that led up to
Sure.
that, but this is know that the horrors of living out there in the streets and the horrors of not having nowhere to turn, the horrors of not really trusting anyone or trusting that you're going to eat today, or you trusting that you're going to have somewhere to sleep tonight without somebody messing with you. You know what I mean? Or you messing with somebody, so you had to keep this intimidation thing going all the time. This mask that you had to wear to be able to
Survival.
survive
Yeah.
in the
Survival mode. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a survival mode.
Survival
You
tactics.
know, and that's why in 12-step programs they talk about character defect. And I personally believe that the character defects are the survival skills that we use to be able to survive in society.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, and as time went on, man, I tried to have a family. I've always wanted a family. I thought that if you get married, and have a kid, have a home, have a picket fence
You
and
made it.
everything, you're normal and you're
Yeah.
in life and you're doing the damn thing. But it just didn't happen like that for
Mm-mm.
me. You
No.
know what I
Neither
mean?
for me.
You know,
Yeah.
so
So how's recovery now?
well, in recovery now, man, is fast forward to the way life in recovery is for me now is like I think I'm at the age where, you know, it doesn't really matter anymore. You
Mm.
know what I mean? What happened is I wanted to understand the true sense of being a gentle man. Not in the sense of the word being gentle, but just understanding what a gentle man is about, you know, because it used to say, you know, good people end up last. You know what I mean? Kind people end up last. All the good words that I heard growing up and everything were all negative words to the people that I put myself around. That's why when you talk about in recovery, you talk about people, places, and things. You know, when you talk about people, places, and things, it's like we're trying to prove ourselves to people, places, and things, but never once taking a look at self.
Mm.
Never once looking at, yeah, I had a fucked up coming up and everything, but then there was a lot of good times in there too. You know what I mean? And sometimes I have to be able to evaluate the good times with the bad times, you know, and understand that when someone makes an opinion of me or they argue with me or they talk to me in a down way, maybe that person's having a bad day. It's not always me having a bad day. Is I learned that I have a principle now of being able to have some understanding and empathy. I never heard of the word empathy until I came in recovery. It was always being apathetic to everybody. It was always, I don't give a fuck about you. I'm only thinking about myself. then I started understanding what the meaning of addiction is. It wasn't about the drugs. It was about the meaning of addiction, about understanding that I have an obsessive and compulsive behavior. I have a behavior that controlling. I have a behavior that wants to be accepted, you know, and processing all of that. But in my experience is that I learned to know and to be able to take a step back and learn something about having some humility, you know, being humble, you know. I know when I first came into recovery, I was trying to be more intimidating than I was trying to be more of a loving, caring
Loving
person.
care, yeah.
So that was my that's what I wanted to ask you, right? When you came into recovery this last time, what were your thoughts, right? Like, did you believe what was posted on that wall? Did you believe what another individual had to say about their life?
Well, the fact is that I evaluate people very, very strongly. Behind every one of us, we all have a heart. We all have some loving, caring feelings, man, that we're afraid to put it out because of the fear of putting it out that you're going to take advantage of me,
Sure.
you know,
Of course.
especially from the grown up position I had, you know. So it was always like kid gloves. It's like my first my first upheaval was quite naturally a friend of mine and I, we had gotten an apartment and we went through treatment together and we ended up coming out of a sober living house and getting an apartment together and then he was he was about girls and I was about girls too, but at the same time I was so afraid of using again, of going back the way I live like an animal, like garbage. I like eating garbage, like hustling every day. And never once did I really think about that until I was clean, you know? And when I got clean, it was like, am I gonna live this type of life again?
Mm.
You know, so I had a healthy sense of fear. And then when I learned about the definition of addiction, see, a lot of people miss in recovery the definition of addiction and what it really means, you know, the simplicity of what it means of addiction. And addiction is something that is a behavior that's embedded in us and and we act out in so many different ways of what makes us feel good. I believe every addict that's in recovery is looking for some kind of fix on a daily basis. You know, uh, us sitting here right now is a fix in itself, but it's a healthy sense of a fix. You know what I mean? Is we're trying to share with others, man, another way of living because we're very fortunate and very gifted to be able to have two lives in one lifetime.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To be able to have experiences, man, that always don't feel good because it's kind of awkward to do the difference of what you used to doing. You know? So you know, I know in the process of the mistakes I made throughout my recovery is like with like I'm one of those firm believers that most people that relapse, that goes through recovery, that goes into the recovery process, put too much emphasis on the drug use rather than on what the disease is doing to them. I'm of the understanding that when you have a we're very sensitive people, and the drugs helped us from not being sensitive. And when we become sensitive and we have an expectation of another person, we end up getting confused. And how do we sort through the confusion and the contradiction? You know, we have to sort through that in order to be okay with self. It's about being okay with self. We can't be okay with everybody else, but it's a very thin line that people don't talk about. Is trying to be okay with self.
Well, I think that's the most important thing, and it takes what it takes, and it takes a while for you to get there. Obviously, you know, for us to understand that once we work on self, everything else will be okay, right? Like it will be doable more. Like for me, like I got to focus on me before I focus on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but when I'm new, right? When I like
What
when I was new, like I personally didn't believe in that, right? Like you got to work on yourself and everything will be situated the
Oh, of
way, you
course,
know what
I
I
didn't
mean?
believe none of that
So
shit.
so
Yeah.
it's like when we first come into the 12 step, program, it's like we're hesitant, right? Like one foot's in, one foot's
Well,
out.
because of the non-trust we grow up with, the non-trust of things that had happened to us. each every individual, we don't have that. We have similarities, but each individual had their own personal experiences.
Absolutely.
You know, they had their own personal experiences. So it's a little bit of trust. If you say something sideways to me, I don't like you no more. I'm not going to get close to you. What are you hugging me for? You know what I mean? Why are you trying to share with me? What are you going to get out of it?
What do you want?
You
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what
yeah,
I
Like
mean?
when I first walked into rooms, the first thing I was looking at are who looked like me.
Well, there it is.
The
There it is.
comfortability of it. It's like I felt like I was walking into a yard, or okay, I gotta find the bald Mexican with tattoos.
Well,
So I could fuck with.
there's a prejudgment. There's a prejudgment, which is prejudice that goes on in the recovery process.
Mm-hmm.
It's the prejudice of how do I fit in? You know, I mean, you feel like you're at a dance with two left feet. You know what I mean? Most of the time, because it's all awkward. It's all new. It's all new. But you have to have the healthy sense of fear that want to take the risk, that understand that this is a God-given situation, that this is a spiritual process, that things make a change in each and every one of our lives.
absolutely.
I can't believe that I have 39 years. I can't believe that people listen to me, or people call me for advice, or people call and share with me just to be shared. I can't believe why you sharing it with me. You know what I mean? But based on the third part of the Serenity Prayer, it talks about the wisdom to know the difference, the wisdom to know the difference in the disease and recovery. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't see or hear that, and they don't have empathy for others. People say, every one of us, man, know that we're selfish people by nature. You know what I mean? We're selfish people by nature. It's like, I like the T-shirt that you got on. I was thinking that maybe I'd get one,
Absolutely.
when I leave here, based on the fact that I've done this no matter what. No matter what, you get a T-shirt. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But
But the trip out on this, because again, introduced to recovery down here, right? East LA, of course, right? So there's a lot of people like me, but I did not get it till I moved to a primarily white neighborhood.
yeah, but then nobody really knows if you're white or Mexican.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Nobody
Yeah.
really knows that. I mean, unless you show the behavior of that, you show the body language of that.
Yeah,
You
pinkies
show
up and all that,
it's just like, hey man, check it out. I was in black neighborhoods. I tried to be black for 30 plus years. I kinked up my hair. I did all these kind of stuff. I used to pull on my lips and make them bigger. You know what I mean? Not to say that nobody, but this is a
'cause you wanted to
stereotype that
fit
I
in.
had in my
stereotype.
head
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
of trying to belong and trying to be a part of and trying to fit in. You know, it's like if you didn't have a jail record, but then I was around people that said stay out of jail. You know what I mean? So there was a confusion there. Here,
Uh,
these guys over here want to be in jail, and here these guys over here don't never go to jail. You know what I mean? Always escape. Always try to hide the evidence. The evidence of whatever you was doing. You know what I mean?
So
So
what
I
do you
took
think?
risk in life. You
Yeah,
know?
that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, for whatever reason, that's why I was getting that. Because for whatever reason, me saying I was looking for the Hispanics with bald and tattoos, but I got it up there. I had to get uncomfortable to get comfortable with another race. I'm just saying, it is
Yeah,
what it
and
was.
then the fact is about people going to school, all right? I mean you look at a lot of people come in recovery, and the first thing they wanna do is go to school, but
Absolutely.
they don't wanna learn about themselves. They wanna learn that they
well, I
feel
think
about
it's a scary place, right?
yes,
Like they definitely don't want to learn about themselves because they're gonna figure out who they really are, and that's a scary place to
a
be.
scary place to
That's
be.
that's
Hell
a
yeah.
scary place
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be.
it's a thing I question myself all the time about, my age and how long I've been around and everything like that, and I question myself, wow, if I didn't key into the recovery process and everything, I would never be okay with myself. I
Mm.
would always be worried about if I really fit in, if I when I could have educated myself with all these years I've been clean and probably be somewhere where I would never have to worry about the next dollar or the next meal,
But
you
see,
know? But reality is, because I stayed clean, I don't have to worry about that.
that's what I'm saying. Now, to touch on the scary part, yes, it's scary, right? We don't really want to know what we were, but this goes back into you just said a little while ago that certain step that we work where it's basically like an autobiography of ourselves. you know, there's parts in there that obviously a lot of people are scared of because all the things we did, but there's also parts in there, like you just said, that we are good. It's not all bad.
No, 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 no,
But
no, no.
that's what I think is for a lot of it is the
You got
disease.
liabilities and assets.
Yeah, but that's what I think. That's what I'm saying. It's the disease that wants us not to work on that because we work on something. The disease
Well,
is
yeah,
like, oh,
we work on acceptance. We don't work on making a change in ourselves.
yeah,
You know what I mean? If you accept me, you accept me. If you want to talk about me, talk about me. It ain't none of my business.
damn right.
That's your fear. People don't really want to know you any goddamn way. You know what I mean?
I agree.
They really don't. They really don't want to know you. You know, they really position themselves, man, to be a set apart. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, "Well, I went to get a job interview, and everything." I said, "Well, did you go to a meeting?" And they said, "No, because I put the job interview before the meeting." I said, "Well, why you didn't go do something for yourself first? And you might have had a better job interview if you would have went, because this thing works spiritually. This thing don't work as, well, why would I go to a meeting? I'm not using it." I said, "Well, yeah, you go to a meeting, man, so you can be able to feel yourself and be able to have self-confidence." I said, "Now, do your own inventory. When you went to a meeting last week and you went to a meeting for a couple of days, you had positive affirmations that came back to you." I said, "It's just that fucking simple. You know, it's just that fucking simple. When you take care of self, spiritually, you be taken care of. It may not be in the way you want it to be taken care of, but you get taken care of." Come on, man. I done seen both of y'all, man, from the beginnings, man. You know, I done seen it from the beginnings, from when his hand was all messed up from motorcycle wreck and everything, and the pictures of it and everything else. Like, how did you survive that? Well, God wanted you to survive it so you could be sitting where you're sitting right now. You know what I mean? You know, but see, we don't see that as a spiritual part. We don't. We look at things like, "Oh fuck, I can't do this," or, "Oh man, this is messed up." Oh man, we spend more time in the drama than we do in the joy. You know what I mean?
I think that's very comfortable though.
But
A lot
yeah,
of people are in that negative mindset and mind space rather than being in that positive mind space because that negativity, brings more joy to people.
well, I don't know if it brings more joy to 'em. I don't take the
It's
negativity,
the
but
chaos.
something that I had a sponsor one time that always talked about the recovery process as a process of health, of being healthy. You put dope in your body, you're gonna do dopey shit. It's just that simple, you know. But if you eat right, you sleep right, you put love out rather than put chaos out, you have better experiences with living.
Simplicity.
But we don't like simple.
Oh, of course, we're used to fucking chaos and fucking drama.
Of course, of course. That way you can complain about how fucked up your life is when your life is really going good. Ask yourself that question sometime. Take yourself out there, man, and say, you look at the homeless person, you say, "For the grace of God, there goes you." You know what I mean? You take a moment, man. You take a moment to have a sense of
I
gratitude.
think that also comes with age, right? I mean, when
Well,
I
it
first
talks about it in the Serenity Prayer, the wisdom to know the difference.
and in the
It takes
beginning, we don't
time to
know it,
get
yeah.
wisdom. It takes experiences to get wisdom. You have to be able to see the difference in recovery and the disease.
So what do you think
You call yourself an addict, right?
Damn right.
If you call yourself an addict, then you have addict behavior.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
When you recognize that and you look at doing the opposite of addict behavior, then you have an opportunity, man, to be able to have one more day of living rather than one more day of dying. When we're practicing character defects and we're practicing other things other than recovery process, you can't walk down the street and point out or have a moment and spot addicts everywhere. You can spot addicts all everywhere with their self-centered ways, with their obsessive behaviors, with being self-centered. You can spot them. You can spot them right now all the time. When you knew, you can't spot nothing. You don't spot nothing. All you thinking about is, "Hey, I didn't use drugs today, so I'm good." Well, come on, man. What else you doing for yourself?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's the toughest thing, right, for newcomers, right, is that they're so quick to I mean, I'm gonna speak on myself, right? Like, I was hungry. In the beginning, after I hit that probation or parole where they dropped it, right? Like, I became hungry. I became, like, willing to, like, do everything and anything for my recovery, right? And then that flame kind of exhausted or extinguished to where I'm like, another day. Yes, it's another day. And especially with traumatic situations happening in my life where it became to the point where I just fell back and depression hit and all that hit, right? So I kind of like lost that focus of like wanting to, you know, do what's necessary for my recovery and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing.
But see, you gotta ask yourself the question, what does recovery mean to you? You know, what does recovery mean to you? Each individual have a sense of recovery of a different aspect. And if you it's like you get to that point where you got all the things that you ever thought you could have, what else can I have? You know what I mean? But the best thing to know is that you have the sense of gratitude, and I think we miss that. I think we miss a lot of sense about being grateful for just where we are and what we have. Tomorrow's not promised to you. We know all of us know people, man, that was alive today and dead tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And the fact is, I think you want to try to keep living. I believe my God let me live this long to experience some things of a 360-degree change in my life. I mean, I tell people stories about when I grew up and everything like that, but is I had the privilege of being able to experience that and being able to share that with others. You know what I mean? And then other people have been able to stay clean based on that. Other people have been able to see a difference in their life. This is why I'm asked to speak a lot, I guess. I'm not asked to speak based on my war stories. I'm asked to speak, man, on based on my recovery and how I done changed and how I done been able to take some principles and apply them into my life and fight the disease of addiction, giving me tools to be able to and weapons to be able to fight against my disease. Because my disease is powerful, partner. It's more powerful than prayer sometimes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, and we see it all the time. We see, but ain't nobody really willing to tell nobody the truth. People are willing to sit on the sidelines and let people be, but I guess you gotta live and let live. You know what I mean? Uh, I never really understood that concept, of live and let live.
I
But
like that saying, "You could lead a horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink it."
right, exactly. It's the same trip. It's
Yeah.
the same trip. Some people gonna get it and some people don't. You'd be surprised at the people that get it, and you'd be surprised at the people that don't get it. You know, people show a good game, but then in the reality, how they live it. Do they really know
Exactly.
how they live it?
Like an
You
old
know?
timer once told me, I don't, because I asked him, I said, why aren't you shocked when you see people relapse? He goes, because that's what we do. We're addicts. He
Yeah.
goes, when I am shocked is when people blow out candles. That's
Yeah.
what I'm shocked about.
Well, yeah, for sure. Like they stay with it, but then, like Cena was just saying, even though I'd blown out some candles, and when I came in, I didn't know what to expect. There's no way in the world he thought he would be sitting where he's sitting right
Yeah.
now. There's no way in the world you thought you'd be sitting where you're sitting right now. Me
And
neither.
I thought I should have been dead a long time
Of
ago,
course, me
you know?
too. Me too, because I did things that should have died
Absolutely,
behind.
absolutely.
you know? And all of us had that experience. So then you start to recognize, man, that why am I here? I'm here, man, to help someone else live.
Purpose, yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I think like you see people when they die that people put words up there, their assignment was done. Whatever that was. You know what I mean? Well, my assignment ain't done yet. You know what I mean? There has to be something to latch on to be able to go. We're all looking for fixes. We're all looking for betterment. We're all looking for to, be on top of the world, you
Like
know?
it's
And
it's
that's the disease of addiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it's like I think for a lot of old timers is when they stop, right, like doing going to meetings and stuff like that. It's like, you know how when they say grandparents, when they get older, right? And they don't have their grandkids to keep them young anymore. That's when they usually end up passing, right? For old timers, like meetings, sponsees, stuff like that keeps them going.
Of course, of course. I mean, there's times that I feel very lonely myself, and but but I've had so many avenues, man, of joy and happiness. So many avenues that it will almost sound like bragging if I talked about it. You know what I mean? But the fact is that I'm happy in my recovery, for one part. The other part I'm sad about, man, maybe I don't have a relationship today, or maybe I don't have a house that I own today, or maybe I don't have a life insurance policy or whatever have you. Those are the things that attack me, all right? Because I know someday I'm further closer to dying than I am of living. You know what I mean? But I think I'm gonna live forever a lot of times. You know what I mean? And if I don't live, that's why we talk about some of the old timers, and some of the old timers have passed away, like the Bob B's and the Beavers and the stuff like things they said. Or go back and listen to them and everything and understand what they were saying where you wouldn't have understood it when you first heard them. You know what I mean? This is why it's a repetitive thing. We need to have repeat after repeat after repeat in our lives. Because if we don't constantly repeat it, man, we're subject to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And a lot of times what we do, first thought is wrong. First thought is wrong. The disease lies in our thinking. It doesn't lie in our hearts or in our stomach or in our bloodstream. It lies in our thinking, the way we think. And our first thought usually is the wrong thought. But if you take time out to be able to take a look at it and know if you're powerless over the situation and know is it going to create insanity and knowing that does your guy got your back in this and if you inventoried it or not, or is this a character defect or an asset? You know what I mean? And what are you really being humble about? You're being humble when you want to slap somebody upside the head, for them not listening or them doing something that you think that's wrong. You know what I mean? We all go there. We all go there, but when you're able to take a deep breath, man, and stop and be able to evaluate, that's what we learn how to do. We learn how to evaluate our lives, our experiences, and that's why we have a 10-step to be able to take a look at our daily situation. Yeah,
Daily inventory.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
I love that. So now for you, don't you got well, we might as well say it here. Don't you got a special day coming up?
Yeah, I'll be 40 years clean on the 16th of September.
Eesh.
His natal
and
birthday is my clean day, dog. No, dog.
yeah, he got it
Program,
on his leg. I keep looking at it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that, and then that's kind of weird too. I don't know if it happens to you guys or not, but every time it gets close to my clean day, I start feeling depressed. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason for it
Well,
is.
because the disease starts picking apart what we don't have.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Probably
Yeah.
so. That's exactly. You're
Exactly
exactly
what
right.
it is. Starts
So what
picking.
you guys are saying is I'm depressed right now?
No, well, are you?
Hell no.
No.
I think this is a crazy ass milestone that I never in my entire fucking life thought I would ever reach.
Well, then for you, it's a good thing because I for me, like my 10, that's when I started. That's when a lot of things started kind of going tough for me. The divorce. Getting
I think that there's a sense of maturity that comes in that adult decisions start being made for you. And then when you're not willing to make those adult decisions yet, you start to evaluate your experiences.
yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, but it started with the divorce and getting laid off from my career that I was making good money. Then back to back hip replacements. It was just like, oh my god, one after another after another. And I don't know if it was like that for you, but no, not for you. It wasn't because you. But it
No,
might have
no,
been
no.
10 years. It's like I don't know. There's a lot of people that 10 years they go through something.
I mean, I think I went through a lot to not even imagine going through something else.
I think you did go through. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like
what was it? The end of your ninth was around your 9
yeah.
years. right? And then going into your 10 years and then into your 10 years with Serena. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of traumatic things that a lot of people go through in 10 years. How was it? Do you
Well,
remember?
every milestone, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Well, we don't have a lot of people experience that 40 years. When I got clean, most time was 25 years. That was about me. You know what I mean? And to hear his experience where he broke it down for simplicity, like he didn't have an expectation of what to come for him. He lived just for the day. And I was able to observe that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think what happens is early on in recovery, it's all new to you. You have no expectations, but then you have an expectation. Well, I'm clean. I'm 3 years clean now.
I'm
5
supposed to
years.
have this, that, this,
Yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you make it up for lost time.
Mm-hmm.
And you start experiencing things that, based off of lost time and everything, how can I hurry up and get this into place
And
so I can
you start comparing yourself to somebody else that has the equal amount of time that they have a little more than you did. Oh my God,
yeah,
that for me was
drive yourself crazy.
I
That's
fucking
why
did.
it's the
I
second step
definitely
is so
did.
important.
I fucking did drive myself crazy because the same amount of clean time, same amount of meetings. They already got a house. They're married. They're this. I'm like, I'm still single.
But your reality is longevity. You know, it's about living. It's about being healthy. It's about having a better life. You don't know what a better life. I mean, if you had all those responsibilities, would you be able to go to the beach on Saturday and enjoy the ocean?
Mhm.
Or would you even do that? You know what I mean? Because you're thinking about, oh fuck, I got to clean the house, I got to fix this, I got to
Mm.
fix that, or whatever have you. Relationships. Oh, I got to always think about my other half. You know what I mean? Before I make a decision to do anything.
Mhm.
Not understanding that you are who you are, and it should have been developed. But let sex get in the way. You know what I mean? And I think that's the main thing about newer people is that finance and romance separates them from recovery. You
I
know?
was just gonna ask you to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
You read my mind. Get out of
Yeah.
my head.
Well, I'm supposed to be in your head because the fact is that you guys asked me to come up here and talk. I didn't shit.
Because
I
I
mean,
was
but
just gonna ask you. I was just gonna ask you to break that down.
well,
Finance
the
and romance.
basis of it is if financially, if you got a lot of money and you got money going on, you don't care nothing about going to no meetings. You think about how you're going to spend this money. If you don't have any money, you worried about it, where I'm going to get some money from. If you got a relationship, the relationship ain't good enough. You're going to look for something better. You know what I mean? That's what happens to addicts. You got to remember our disease. Our disease don't go away. It's still there. It's always going to be there. You know? I have a disappointment in relationship. I have a disappointment. I'm still in love with somebody that don't love me, but they probably love me, but they're not willing to because of the fear of their experiences.
Sure.
I have to be able to take a look at that.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Maybe they do love me. You know what I mean? And they're just afraid they're going to hurt me because of their own character defects. You know what I mean?
Now, do you practice acceptance in that?
No. I don't practice acceptance of
He's
that.
like, fuck
You
that.
know, but what happens is I put myself in those peculiar positions. I put myself in a position where I'm promising it something to somebody else because of what I'm not getting. You know what I mean? And then I don't really mean it. You know what I'm saying? You know? So it's very difficult for me to be able to just sit on the sidelines and say, okay, I'm being patient. I know where my heart is at. You know what I mean?
Practicing faith, practicing,
Yeah, all that kind of
yeah, all
stuff and
that.
everything.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, who's going to be there anyway? Or I might get a surprise. I don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. You know what I mean? And then that's the only thing that gives me relief because I don't know what tomorrow holds.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. So
Faith is a big one for me.
I'm always looking for a fix, bro.
Yeah.
Always looking for a fix.
Oh, we're still addicts.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You and me both,
Right.
man. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So, how is life today?
Life today is, how would I say, I don't want to give you the wrong meaning. It's like today was a good day. But I did make a mistake and went to a doctor's appointment, and my appointment is not until next week. All right? I did
Okay.
make that mistake. But, and then but I didn't get pissed off about it because I forgot my cane. I don't really need a cane, but I forgot my cane as a crutch for me to be able to walk because of my age now and because having a high cost for low living, I'm concerned about neuropathy
Okay.
in my feet and everything like that. I don't like to shower as much because I'm afraid I'm gonna slip in the shower and bust my head and die. You know, I I take my medication without anybody having to tell me to take my medication or me getting bored with taking it because I know it's the source of me living. I have a defibrillator that works with my heart, you know, because of a heart failure. I have I communicate with my doctor more than I do with my sponsor. You know what I mean? To let them know how I am feeling. You know, sometimes I don't know how I'm feeling. You know, I don't, I don't, I see myself today as maybe not doing the healthiest things because I have a urge to have some sweets when I'm trying to fix some feelings inside. You know what I mean? And want to
Shit.
eat some sweets, you know, and but then I don't know what sweets to eat, you know, you know.
So you get
So,
a lot of them.
huh?
Do
So
you
you
get
get
one
a
of each?
yeah, you get a
Yeah,
lot of them.
That's what I
sometimes,
do. I ain't gonna lie,
sometimes,
dude.
sometimes I do that. I smoke cigars for my meditation. When I'm smoking a cigar, I'm meditating. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about decisions I need to make. Uh, you know, uh, I like to make more monies. You know, it's like I'm on a disability income. And but then I used to hate the fact that I was in the military, but now I'm grateful that I was. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? So, how I live today, man, is like I just go with the flow. You know, the flow is what really it's all about. If I'm trying to control something, then I'm going to have a hard time making it come out like I think it ought to come out. So that's the difference in staying clean long periods of time and having a lot of experiences versus versus being new in recovery and not knowing what to expect.
You're at that point now. I remember another old timer. I think you know him too. Um, he told me the longer you stay clean, he goes, the mistakes that I've made outweigh the mistakes that I made when I was dirty from when I'm clean. He goes, because I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but I'm at a point where I make more mistakes clean than I did when I was using.
Well, that's probably true. But I mean, there are mistakes that can be rectified,
Yeah.
you know, because the humility that comes into play is being able to accept the mistakes that you made. Before, if you made a mistake, you covered it up. You covered it up because I mean, you're a big guy on the block. You can't afford to let nobody see you make a mistake,
Mhm.
you know. But mistakes we make today, is like I ask myself the question a lot of time: What would God do in this situation? Or I ask myself the question: What's the worst that's going to happen for the mistake I made? You know, and I still have a hard time wanting to admit to the truth.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the fact being is that I have a disease that doesn't want me to admit to nothing. We come from that background at school, you know, of not admitting, because once you admit, then everybody's going to take advantage of you, you know. And like I was talking about a sponsor today, and he was talking about how rumors kill you. Rumors kill you, man, because people rather have rumors than to have principle. That may not make sense to y'all, but you would live off the rumor more than you would live off of the principle of whatever it is, you know? And people live off of rumors from maybe 20 years ago, you know?
Fuck
Oh,
that.
yeah, Ralph, he was over here in Savannah and he left his wife and beat her to death and everything like that. That was a rumor. It wasn't that she left you or you guys came to an end in your relationship, or you grown apart. That's the truth. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The reality of it is that you had to do something detrimental because the way we saw it from the outside, none of us know what's going on behind closed doors.
Oh, hell
Mm.
no.
You know what I mean? So, but it ain't that it's supposed to be that important to you. We're more important about other people than we are about ourselves.
So we always you wanna
I
go?
I want I want that. I want that. The yellow.
You want the yellow brick
Oh, you
road?
want to go ahead.
Yeah, because we wrapping up, and for the viewers, that like when I heard that, and I want to tell you this, right? When I heard that when I was new, like that held a spot in my heart, right? Because like what you said and like how it is, and I put two and two together, and I started to realize, like, damn, like this is true, right? Because when I was in my active addiction, I didn't give a fuck about anyone. I didn't care about anyone. I didn't love anyone. All I cared about is one specific thing, and is how to get high and get high.
Right.
So like when I heard that, like that showed me like that was very attractive, right? Like it was very attractive because that's what happens when you get clean,
Right,
right?
exactly. Recognizing it and everything, all throughout recovery, you will recognize little situations that could be able to come to your mind and say, "Oh, that's it right there." It doesn't have to be in the book. It doesn't have to be anybody shared or anything like that. Because most of us have immature minds, and we go back to the fact of is like I was really impressed as a kid of watching the Yellow Brick Road and watching, the whole thing. But then when I was in recovery and I was trying to find my way and trying to understand about the difference in the drug use and the disease of addiction and everything, I was able to see by going to I mean, who thought about sending me to Kansas, right?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
thought about me sitting in the lobby of the hotel and they got the place decorated up like the Wizard of Oz? And how did it come to my mind that I was able to see the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion and the little dog Toto and Dorothy and everything and the Yellow Brick Road? And so it dawned on me, and it dawned on me very heavily, that I was fucking insane out there, man, when I was using, you know? Because the way I used, man, my brain was gone. It was wet as a noodle. It was out there, you know? So I was like, just like the scarecrow, lost his brain, very dodo, very stupid out there, you know? It's just like the lion, man, you know? I had no heart for nobody. I was so selfish for myself. You know what I mean? I didn't love nobody, and nobody loved me because of the way I used. They didn't want to see me coming, you know? So it dawned on me, man, I lost my heart behind the way I used drugs. And just like the lion, did I have any courage? I was ankle biting. I was always manipulating and stealing and using, character defects, man, to survive and get by and everything like that. So I had no courage, just like the lion. And the lion, the cowardly lion, you know what I mean? I wanted somebody else to be the fault. I didn't have no courage to speak up for myself. And like Dorothy, man, all Dorothy wanted to do was go back home because she was taken away from a storm, the storm of using drugs. You know what I mean? That was me. I always wanted to go home. I never had a home before. I've lived in houses and everything, but never felt like I was at home anywhere, you know? And what has happened to the recovery process, through the 12 steps of recovery, man, I've been able to find a home here in Narcotics Anonymous. Damn, you guys got
We got him,
you
coach.
got
We got
you
him.
got
We,
you
Oh,
got me.
hey, the funny
nah,
thing
nah.
about it, I was sitting here
Yeah,
thinking, I was like,
no,
I wonder how he's gonna spin it. I wonder how he's gonna spin
Yeah,
it.
well, I was able to find a
don't
home
worry. Don't worry.
here in the recovery 12-step programs,
Yeah.
right? And I was able to find a home here, and I've gotten my brain back because I have a lot of people that listen to me,
Yeah.
and I think before I speak. You know what I mean? Again, I've been able to have a big heart. I love a lot of people. I have a daughter that I raised and never used before. You know what I mean? And that loves me to death. I have a son, that's been spending the last couple of nights at my home, but he's still on his mission for himself. You know what I mean? But I still got love for him. The only way I can show my love is just be understanding and hopeful that God touches him one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other thing is that I got a lot of courage, man, because I take risks. I, I practice some of the things that I talk about. I practice them in my everyday life. That takes courage to do that, you know? And and the rest is history because I've gotten all that now. And you know, it's been important to be able to share that with others, man, because the mind of a child is mostly in all of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we can relate to when we have it simple enough to be able to be mind blowing, you know? And you know, for that, I'm truly grateful to be a member of a 12-step program.
Oh, but
Y'all
I
set
was
me
like,
up.
you was doing good.
It set me up, boy. It set me up, audience.
And the funny thing is, I swear, right when I was like, oh, I wonder how he's gonna spin it, man. Then you're so used to saying it. I was just flow. That's what it was. All right, this is how we usually wrap up the end of our podcast. It's the last question we ask. Okay, the name of the podcast is "No Matter What." Right? What does "No Matter What" mean to you, Steve?
I can take that no matter what and look at it from an aspect of no matter what happens in my life, I choose recovery. You know, no matter what happens, you know. And I'm not always happy in my life. I'm not always understanding of why people do what they do. But I can't judge others when I'm not judging myself. So no matter what, I follow the principles of understanding if I don't use, I have a shot at living.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Love it. The simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Yours was shorter than I think anybody's.
But it was meaningful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The simplicity of it.
Stop screaming at me. Man, it's an honor and privilege to have you come out to this podcast.
Thank you guys.
It truly is.
Thank you guys.
For the viewers, if you or your loved one are struggling, there are links down below. If you do not choose to call those links, leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Peace and love.